Okay, good morning. We are going to call the Business and Governance Committee to order. The time is 9:53 a.m. Rosie, are we ready to begin the meeting?
Yes, Madam Chair, we're ready.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have a quorum with the following member absent, Mr. Brett Bartolotta.
All right, and Rosie, do we have any public comment today?
No, Madam President, we don't have any public. I'm sorry. Madam Chair, I apologize. I just gave you a promotion. I apologize, Madam Chair. We do not have any public comment for today's meeting. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm happy where I'm at, Rosie. That's all right. I don't need a promotion. Moving on to Section 4, the action items. We have 3 action items on today's agenda, and our first action item is staff's recommendation to appoint Jennifer Gardine, is that right? Yes. Gardine, as an independent non-board member on the Audit Committee. Greg, will you please introduce?
Thank you. Good morning, committee. It's good to see everyone. So before the committee this morning is a recommendation to appoint Jennifer Gardine to the Audit Committee as an independent non-board member. The SDCERS Audit Committee is unique in SDCERS governance structure in that the committee membership includes independent members from our community that are not also serving on the SDCERS Board of Administration. The SDCERS policy for the Business and Governance Committee is to make a recommendation to the board to appoint an independent non-board member candidate to the Audit Committee. The board's committee charter requires the Audit Committee to be comprised of 5 members, one which is a board member, which is currently our board president, Lisa Marie Harris, just want to make sure I got that right. 3 independent non-board members, currently Shira Cohen, Mia Horinsky, and Gary McCormick. And 1 member who can be either a board member or an independent non-board member. With the resignation of Lana Radchenko recently from the Audit Committee, this created a vacancy, and the appointment of Mrs. Gardine will bring the Audit Committee back to full membership. As noted in the meeting materials, Ms. Gardine is very well qualified based on her extensive professional experience in auditing, corporate accounting, and finance. It's therefore recommended the Business and Governance Committee recommend to the board the appointment of Jennifer Gardine as an independent non-board member of the Audit Committee. Thank you, Bobby.
Would any committee member like to speak on this matter? No, then may I have a motion and a second from the committee? Rosie, do we have a motion and a second?
Yes, Madam Chair. It was moved by Chris Brewster and seconded by Mr. Paul Kaufman. Please feel free to cast your votes. And with all votes in, Madam Chair, this motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Rosie. Our second action item is staff's recommendation to approve the annual cost of living adjustment, also known as the COLA program, effective July 1st, 2026. Sandra, will you please introduce this item?
Yes, good morning. Each May, the board is asked to approve the annual cost of living adjustment, or COLA, to be effective July 1. The COLA calculation is performed by SDCERS actuary Chiron and is based on the Consumer Price Index change. This year, Chiron calculated the COLA at 2.7%, with members receiving the maximum 2% and banking 0.7% to use in years when the calculation is less than 2%. The city's 1981 plan retirees, that calculation is based on 50% of the Consumer Price Index for the San Diego area, and they will receive 1.9% this year. Staff recommends that the board approve the cost of living adjustment.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, Sandra, quick question. What's so special about the 2%? Why don't we just pass the whole 2.7?
That is written in the plan document that there be a 2% maximum.
Is that still rational today, in your view?
I'm
I'm going to defer on that one.
So I like to say there's no right way or wrong way to design a defined benefit program. It's really up to the employer. There's a whole market basket of different options, and what do they need to put into that market basket of benefit options to attract and retain a qualified workforce. I would say most corporate plans and quite a few public plans don't have a cost of living adjustment for their retirees or survivors. So having a cost of living program is a step up, and it's quite common to put a cap in it at some level.
Sorry, one follow-up question, Sandra. What's the total bank up to now at this point?
Oh, boy, there are people in double digits on their banks.
Yeah.
So if we look at the COLA bank, it's actually stratified by year. And so we went through a period of low inflation, as you know, over the number of years. So some of the more recent retirees have actually a very low inflation damage bank where their COLA has been limited. But as Sandra points out, those folks that have been retired for an extremely long time
Large bank.
have a much larger bank.
Thank you, Sandra.
So
All right.
Paul, I just wanted to add, just to look, as the elected by the retirees, I got a lot of feedback from retirees about this cap. I appreciate Greg's thought process, but understand Social Security is just
Non-existent for these guys.
no. But Social Security is tagged to the CPI, so there is no cap if you're in Social Security. So it goes up. So yeah, I can't remember what my personal bank is, but it's probably somewhere around 10%, and I have retirees who are really concerned because they're way behind. I mean, they've lost a lot, but realistically, the only remedy for it is for the city council to take an action on it, which in the current circumstances is pretty unlikely. So I think we just have to. I say to the retirees, if you have some way to get somebody on the council to make a recommendation, and in fact, if the council votes in that direction, then things could change. But otherwise, we can only approve what Sandra's got before us.
One last question, Sandra, sorry. What happens when a retiree passes away? What happens to the bank?
That continuant, if there's a continuance, the continuance also gets the COLA
What do you mean by the,
with the bank.
so what does that mean? Do they,
They pick up, it depends on what kind of a continuance you have, but the typical maximum benefit married is a 50% continuance of the retiree's benefit, and they get the COLA with the COLA bank and pick up
Okay.
as if, yeah.
thank you.
All right, may I have a motion and a second?
And Madam Chair, was moved by Paul Lott, seconded by Ms. Christiana Gauga. Please feel free to cast your votes. And with all votes in, Madam Chair, this motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Rosie. Our final action item is staff's recommendation to amend the committee's charter, the board meeting charter policy, the board policy regarding a disaster event, the donations policy, and board member responsibilities and core competencies policy. Johnny,
Hi, good morning.
good morning.
You have my report in front of you. It highlights more significant changes. I do want to call out one. We have an old rule here that says that if a board member wants to abstain from a vote, they need to explain why. And the reason for that is because this is a collaborative group. We want everyone to share their thoughts and ideas, and maybe that'll influence other voters in that. But that rule is rarely enforced, and so I'd hate to have a rule and call people out when that's not the decision or motivation of the board. So staff is recommending that we change that from really have to declare why you're abstaining to really you may or you should. You should explain your vote. Other than that, any questions on the recommendations?
I guess in what circumstance would a board member not want to disclose why they're abstaining?
I could surmise it could. I don't know. I think sometimes people just want to say things like "I don't know," and they want to abstain. That could be fair.
Someone filing a disability claim and they don't want to go into the history of their relationship, but
So in my career, working with various boards, board members come with a lot of different skill sets, and there are some people that end up on a board who are deathly afraid of public speaking, and they just don't like sharing. I'm not saying that's the best governance structure, but that does happen in cases. And as Paul said, there's also instances where people feel uncomfortable sharing because they're worried about offending somebody. So culturally, voting and talking about it, they just may have difficulties with it. But I agree that you really should open up and talk about, I'm not voting on this for a specific reason, because we have seen on this board where somebody abstains, and then they will say, well, why are you abstaining? And they give a reason, and they're like, well, if it was true, then you should probably recuse and leave the room, but actually, you don't need to recuse or abstain. You can actually participate. And then they've gone on. So it's really just about communicating. I really support that, but I really appreciate Johnny's perspective in that, I don't want to invalidate actions because somebody didn't talk about why they abstained. So making it permissive, but with hopefully building a culture where we do talk about it, I think is appropriate.
Okay. Chris?
So, Johnny and I have talked about this particular issue quite a bit because it's really interesting to me. I've been on a number of boards and chaired boards for long periods of time under Robert's rules, and I have never seen a rule like this, saying that you have to explain an abstention. We do have a rule saying if you have a conflict, you must declare it and leave the room while the discussion's going on. So that would not be a valid reason to abstain. I suppose a valid reason you don't have to have a valid reason to abstain. You can do what you want. So I'm really mystified by this, and I don't understand why then we wouldn't have a rule saying you have to explain why you're going to vote yes and why you're going to vote no. It just doesn't make sense to me. So personally, I would prefer to just remove any reference to that, and if somebody wants to abstain, they abstain. If somebody wants to vote yes, they vote yes. If somebody wants to vote no, they vote no. But I'd be interested to hear what other people think about that. I mean, do we really need to strongly urge or whatever our board members that if you're going to abstain, you've got to tell us why?
Anybody have any comment? Hearing no comment.
Well, I do have a motion to remove that, so I won't put it forward if people have concern with that. But the motion is essentially to remove any requirement to explain your abstention.
I personally would like to follow the recommendation of staff and leave it in or leave it with Johnny's wording as should. I would agree that it would be, I think it's beneficial to know why someone is abstaining.
Yeah, I would support Johnny's approach as well. That loosens
Okay.
it up a little.
I think it was actually my language, wasn't it, Johnny?
Fair.
I actually, we went through these policies, and I recommended changing it from must to should, and then I had I thought, well, I should have recommended just yanking it entirely. Anyway, no problem. I'm good with my original amended language.
Okay, then, do we have a motion and a second?
Oh, hit the abstain button, just do it.
It was moved by Paul Kaufman, seconded by Paul Lotz. Please feel free to cast your votes.
I just want to say I'm abstaining because the CEO asked me to.
Okay, that's it.
And with All votes in, Madam Chair. This motion passes with 4 yeas and 1 abstain.
And that's it for our action items. Moving on to reports. Member Services Division report. Natasha.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, I am just going to highlight a few items from my report. Our call center does continue to experience some staffing challenges due to existing vacancies. We are working to fill the vacancies, but we will experience temporary understaffing during the summer months due to onboarding and training requirements. The target wait time was adjusted in April to 120 seconds, as we previously have discussed, to reflect our staffing. But I do want to point out that the team is at 127 seconds for the month of April. So they're really, really close, and with 1,700 calls. So they're doing that actually pretty well with the staffing situation. In addition, I just wanted to mention that we are going to have another impact to operations with the upcoming departure of our front desk assistant, John Hansley. I'm sure you all know John. He actually, in June, will earn his master's in public policy from San Diego State. So big congratulations to him. It's a great accomplishment. He is a highly valued member of our team, and we will miss him a lot. So, but we're excited for him. He's actually moving out of state in June after he gets his degree. So we were fortunate to have him as long as we did. Moving on to some member communications. At the city's request, we developed a fact sheet entitled SDCERS Pension Options After Employment Ends for city employees who might need that resource. When we did that, and Jessica, a shout out to her for helping us put that together, we thought, well, this would be good for the port and the airport to have as well. So we're going to be adapting that fact sheet for all 3 plan sponsors. So it's just a resource to help folks make decisions when their employment ends, voluntarily or involuntarily. Wanted to bring attention to the report. I don't know if any of you noticed, it was really long. And it was long because we had the same data presented in 2 different ways. And we've been talking a lot about the ADA Title II requirements changing, where everything on the website and things that are presented have to be ADA accessible. So we kept the graphs because we thought the presentation on the graphs is easy to read, but we also converted the data into data tables. So you have both in the report, and honestly, it's really up to the board if they would like to see both options or if they want us to go with just the data tables, but we can continue to provide both. The good news is that deadline, which was end of April, we got a last minute reprieve. All the systems are thrilled. They gave everybody an additional year. So now those requirements have been extended. We will still do, of course, what we can do to make things ADA accessible. So you'll see some tweaks to data as we move on. We're not going to wait for that deadline to occur, but it does give some breathing room to some of the other technical requirements that we have to meet. And I think the last item I want to mention, and of course Brewster already mentioned it earlier, I want to do a special shout out to Sarah Levy, who went above and beyond to visit a member in the hospital who had a terminal illness. So her dedication made a really meaningful difference to the member at a difficult time. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Natasha, quick question is, have you guys done any investigation into the use of AI as a productivity improvement or otherwise?
My favorite topic. Greg looks at me because he's like, he knows. It was, we've been actually working quite a bit on AI tools. We've done things like we implemented with IT support. So I want to do a shout out to Norma and Michelle for being very supportive of all the things that we are looking at. But we recently implemented call transcription with the use of AI, so that way our calls are recorded, and then the call center rep can then make adjustments and copy that and save it over into the contact tickets. So we've done that already. We are actually working right now to implement, it's called an assist, it's a queue assist for our calls. So and we haven't implemented it, but we are working on the contract right now. So if a call center rep gets a call, there should be something that assists them by popping up data. If someone says, hey, I'm calling about reciprocity, something will pop up that, has a link or has some information about reciprocity. Yes, so it helps them easily get that data without putting someone on hold or taking the time to find the data. We are looking at the website redesign that everybody knows is coming. One of the tools is an AI search assist. So a lot of times if you go to a website and you put in a key term, you get hundreds of links and you don't really get the answer to your question. This assist tool would provide people with a paragraph going limited to our website only, so with the very strict guardrails to prevent hallucination, just pulling our data and giving it to them in a paragraph format, and then it includes the source on the website of where they can find it. So we are looking at least in member services, we are looking at all the different ways that we can help be more efficient and more productive and hopefully serve our members more quickly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Natasha, just without going too far down rabbit hole, what does it mean to make the report ADA accessible? I mean, like, how do you do that?
Painfully. It's a painful process. So, for example, if people are using a read aloud tool,
Yeah.
it can't read the graphs. It doesn't read them very well. So you have to have things, in the order of readability, for example.
Okay.
Colors, for people with vision challenges, the colors that you use, that's a challenge. So right now, we actually go through and are using some tools that we have within Word that checks the documents and points out, hey, this is something that's, you need to clarify. You need to make this a header so that it identifies a section as heading. Pictures have to have a certain description, that it reads out, this is what this visual is. So we are, again, actually the city is going to be implementing some training, but because of the delay, we haven't had that detailed training, and it's very extensive to do everything that you want to do to be ADA accessible. So we're doing what we can with the tools that we have.
Okay, thank you. And then it's super, I saw in your creation of annual communication calendar, that's really exciting. You're getting close, right?
We are.
So what, are you going to use the existing email database that we have of people who've registered, and then where the other emails come from?
So the emails have to be used if they've registered an account with us. So that's the email database. So what we are trying to do is we are working with all the plan sponsors. And actually, we are working with, for example, the airport said, hey, can you tell us who's not registered so we can do a push to get those folks registered. We're also going to try to work with the city. They've had a lot on their plate lately, but we are waiting to work with them to add that as hopefully a task for folks to register for the portal. So we've got to get as many people registered for the portal to have their email address in order to email them.
It's going to... The sooner this happens, the better, right? I mean, for example, tomorrow, presumably, we approve the COLA. It'd be great if you could push that out, like, right afterwards. Then that reduces calls to the call center, which reduces your time for people waiting and all the rest of it. It's great. I also saw on the portal update that people can now change their user ID and password.
Yes.
That's another thing that's just going to save. So it's great the direction you're moving in. I just think it will be good.
Yes.
Paul thinks it should have happened a while ago, but I think I am, and I do too, but I'm glad that you're getting it done.
Yeah, I think the goal is, and we actually have some other tools that we're looking at. For example, if when the COLA gets approved, trying to, maybe we put a message on the queue line that says, hey, this is the COLA, it's been approved. So try to get ahead of some of that as well. But yeah, we are looking at lining everything up, because the more people that are registered, the more emails we'll get to folks. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandra, Benefits Administration.
I'm getting my steps in today. All right. I'm pleased to share that we have wrapped up our conversion from workflow to business process management, or BPM, in our pension software system, IRIS. This has been a significant effort over the past several months, and it's great to see it come to a successful close. Altogether, we migrated more than 70 business tasks into BPM. This was definitely a team effort, and I wanted to thank our colleagues in Benefits Administration, Member Services, Finance, and Legal. Over a 4-week period, they not only kept up with their day-to-day responsibilities, but they were also staging work, testing outcomes, documenting issues, and then retesting to make sure that everything worked as intended in BPM. That diligence really paid off and made for an overall very successful project. I also wanted to thank Norma Frank from IT for her strong leadership during the project, and of course a thank you to Blanca Gomez and to the team at Sagitech for their patience with us during this project. And now that BPM is wrapped up, we are moving into our port plan document review. We are starting weekly meetings to review that plan document section by section. According to the project schedule, we should complete our internal review in June. Then I anticipate some meetings with the district to resolve any outstanding issues. And hopefully we will have a new plan document from the port by the fall. Happy to answer any questions.
Sandra,
Yes.
quick question. Congratulations on the BPM. That is a major
Yes,
accomplishment.
yes, that was years in the planning and months of work.
Is that just city-related, or does that relate to
That's just
all
in
three?
our pension software system.
Okay, so that impacts both the city, airport, and port.
It does, yes.
Good. Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
great news.
Yes.
Thank you, Sandra. Any other questions for Sandra? Yeah. I'm
Sure.
just-
Sandra?
Dandridge correction, you're still ready? Oh, sorry.
On the Dandridge correction, it says Ms. Dandridge's reciprocity was revoked, resulting in whatever. What happens under those circumstances?
She had been working for a reciprocal system, but she was hourly at the time and not a member, so there's some dispute as to whether it's on appeal. She's trying to resolve that issue with the reciprocal agency, but if she wasn't a member, then she didn't meet the time requirements for establishing reciprocity.
So,
Her entry age at SDCERS was based on having that reciprocal service.
So I don't know if this is part of your question, but if we're going to link together eligibility for a benefit, you can link two employers together, but you have to change jobs within 180 days.
Yes.
And you cannot overlap. And so sometimes we see folks overlapping employment, so we will work with the two plan sponsors to say, can we fix that? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And sometimes, in this case, if someone goes in as a temporary that's not eligible for membership in not SDCERS, but in the new position, they don't meet that 180 days. And so that's where we are right now is most systems, this is a generalization, you have to be 3/4 time or more to be a member of the pension system. And if you're less than that or seasonal, you're not an eligible member.
okay, thanks. I guess I wasn't really asking for the nuts and bolts of that piece. I was kind of asking, she came from another system. She's hired by the city. She comes in. Did we tell her she was eligible for this and then figure out later that she isn't or something like that?
Exactly, yeah. The reciprocal system approved her reciprocity and then later did a review of it and said, no, she's not actually eligible, sent us that information. So
Got it.
it's
So
really
it's on the other system that
it's
they
on the
just
other
gave us
system.
bad info. Okay.
Correct,
That's really what I was getting at. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Michelle, IT.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So since Paul missed us last month, I just wanted to recap some of our personnel changes because he was seeing some new people on the IT team. In the past 2 months, we had 2 of our team members retire, Alfredo Nieto, who was part of our ZenSAR Technologies team, and also Joe Saucedo, who was our system administrator. With Alfredo, you may have met Jason Smith. He came in earlier. He's been issuing all the iPads if you've been issued a new tablet. He's been wonderful to work with. He brings the same energy and comedy as Alfredo, and we welcome him to the team. As Joe Saucedo's replacement, Blanca Gomez has joined the team in a new role. You've seen her here for many years. She has supported SDCERS for actually over 20 years. She worked with us previous, relocated, and came back to San Diego. When she came back, her position happened to be available, so we brought her back on the team. So she's got a wealth of knowledge of SDCERS, been supporting us for a long time, and we're excited to have her in a new role as a system administrator. We're also working with CGI, who was her previous employer, to fill that vacancy as a business analyst on our team. In the FY27 budget, we also approved and added another IT member to the team. We're working on filling that position. That position will be the operations administrator and will work under Sean Kilback. The responsibilities of that position will be to maintain regular operations under infrastructure and security. That includes change management, service desk management, vulnerability, and patch management. This also helps provide some continuity on the infrastructure and security side so that Sean can actually take a vacation and not have his phone ringing while he's spending time with his family. So those letters of interest have gone out. We're hoping to do interviews next month and then have somebody to introduce at the July meeting. I'm going to provide some project updates. We have a lot going on the IT team. We recently completed the upgrade to the financial system. This was a significant level of effort as we had two major upgrades to do within this project. I'd like to recognize Norma Frank for excellent work managing this project and coordinating the finance team and our vendor, Sickage. I'd also like to thank Blanca Gomez and Sandeep Kumar for their assistance supporting that the technology side of that upgrade. The finance team was wonderful to work on. They were very responsive and were able to meet all of their commitments. So thank you to everybody. And Norma's work wasn't done. As you heard from Sandra, we completed the business process management. Norma was working with Sagitech on all the change management and release process that supported that upgrade. So I do want to thank her for her hard work on that project. This is a workflow engine that integrates into our pension solution to do business process management and to push work streams down to different staff members. This is more of an integrated solution. What we previously had integrated was a Microsoft product that has been now sunsetted by Microsoft. So this is a proprietary to our solution provider. So it's a more seamless integration into our pension solution. A special appreciation to Sandra, who joined the project management team during that project to manage the user acceptance testing phase. And all of the team on benefits admin, member services, legal, and finance who all contributed time to that testing process. We also completed the replacement of our legacy tape drives. We follow a 3-2-1 backup rule, which means we have 3 different copies of our data management system. We have 2 different storage media, and we have 1 off-site. So the tape drive works both as a different storage media and both the off-site media. So I want to thank Sean Kilpack and Eric Cheatham for their work on this project. And I think Greg may talk about it later, but next week we start our demolition of the boardroom. We'll be replacing all the AV equipment to modernize and streamline and integrate all the different components within this room. You see a mock-up of the Dia station that we'll be configuring for each of the stations up here. There's a larger monitor. It has a larger screen. You're going to see a higher resolution, a new microphone that has a light indicator on the microphone with the button right next to the mic so you're not pushing other people's buttons. And the input switches are changing. So hopefully this is going to be an improvement for each of you guys, but you're welcome to take a look at that, provide any feedback that you have, and we'll incorporate that into our reconfiguration. Hopefully, the hope is to have this all in place by the next board cycle in July. The Microsoft 365 migration. I'm happy to report that we have completed the migration of all devices into the new domain. This was a significant milestone. This took all effort from our entire IT team with the leadership from Sean Kilpack. So I want to thank Sean, and I want to thank our entire IT team. This was a very heavy lift. There were a lot of weekend hours and nighttime hours that were put into migrating services into this new domain and new hybrid environment that we're supporting. The project's not complete. We're working on decommission activity right now. What that is removing all the legacy configurations and severing that, and then working in this full new domain. The last thing I'll make a note of is with that 365 project, we were doing a domain change. What does that mean? It means we're moving from SDCERS.org to SDCERS.gov. This is based on state legislation that says by 2029, all government agencies need to be in a .gov domain. And this is to provide more transparency to the public and security for the public. It is very difficult to get a .gov domain. You have to go through a lot of scrutiny, and you got to go through the federal government to have that domain issued to you. And it also gives the ability for members to know that site is not impersonated or repeated. So we incorporated that into the 365 project. To this date, both .org and .gov have been active domains, and they will remain to be active domains. On May 15th, we will be switching to a .gov being our primary. What does that mean for the public and for you? That means if you type in sdcers.org on your browser, it's going to resolve and send you to sdcers.gov. If you type in sdcers.gov, you're going to stay on that site. So .gov will be our primary site. .org will still remain an alias, so you can still type that in, but it'll redirect you to the .gov. For email will still be received from both domains, although email outbound that is received from any SDCERS email will reflect a .gov domain. We've been working with Natasha and the member services team on the outreach to our stakeholders so that our stakeholders and public are all aware of these changes and that it is transparent to all of them and has very little impact. And this concludes my updates. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So Michelle, on our, first of all, huge amount of work, thank you. That's fantastic, and a lot went into it all. On our emails, then, after the 15th, if you send an email, it's going to say it's from whatever our name is at .gov or sdcers.gov. Is that what will happen?
So email being received, you can still send it to, are you
I'm saying when
outbound.
When I send it from the SDCERS server
Correct.
or whatever. Yeah.
Outbound will reflect sdcers.gov
Okay.
after the 15th.
Okay.
You'll still be able to receive email at sdcers.org or gov.
Okay. So recipients will just see a different email, whatever.
Correct.
suffix.
And we're looking to put an automated footer on each outbound message that notes that change
got
so
it.
that people can see a visual dictation that this is a legitimate email received from SDCERS.
Got it. Thank you.
And that would be automatic. That's not something that you have to do. That's something that the service will insert on the communications.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to update my business cards.
You will.
So who should we contact if we have a problem with our email?
Problem with email, Jason Smith
Okay.
will be your point of contact. And following this meeting, if you'd like, we can distribute his contact information
Okay, that'd be
to
great.
board members.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And
We'll
if
be
I
sorry.
And if I may interject,
comments?
Madam Chair, it's also always mentioned his contact information, Jason Smith's contact information, during the agenda download emails.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So just in case,
Yeah,
it's just another outlet for you to utilize.
thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our reports, I did hear that Ted's going to city council today. And what are you sharing with them?
So every year, the city council invites us to give an informational item regarding the SDCERS budget. So as part of the city's budget deliberations, where they have a very, very difficult time to say how do they take the money that they have to serve our community's many, many needs, they do invite the independent organizations, of which one is SDCERS, to come give an informational item about the budget the board approved this past March. So we'll be, I think they've asked us to limit it to 15 minutes or less. So Ted and I will do some speed talking and be available for questions.
And what are you highlighting?
We are highlighting that SDCERS is doing very well operationally, that we do keep a very good mind on spending money prudently, that we have made sure that we can deliver the benefits that we promise in a very cost-effective and cost-efficient manner. We're also highlighting some additional metrics, kind of state of SDCERS, how we're doing funding-wise, how the planned funding is operating as expected as a level percentage of their payroll. Because in the Union Tribune, we see lots of news medias about the cost going up and the impact that can have on the city budget. But the pension plan is really designed and developed to be a level percent of pay from that city payroll amount. And we have consistently delivered that at around 22 to 25% of their total labor spend. So we have been consistently doing that. But as their payroll goes up, as does the pension contributions on that payroll.
That's great.
Greg,
Thank you.
maybe we could put an article to that effect in our website, because I'm not sure if that little tidbit and factoid is really well known by a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
And we have the written reports that we've all received. Are there any questions or comments on written reports?
Yeah, Johnny, I had a question about the legal report. So in your report to us in March, you reported on the additional contributions issue, and you said staff continues to research the administration of the municipal code provisions, I would say also charter, related to additional contributions. In March, staff are meeting with fiduciary counsel and the actuary to address the matter. As you know, I have some limited interest in this issue, and I was hoping you could let me know what came of that and where we are on that.
I'll be glad to share some. Some of the meeting is attorney-client privilege, so I'd like to talk to you in private about some of those opinions shared. But part of the piece is how does this work operationally? And consulting with our experts, the actuary of what does this mean for the plan? What numbers are we talking about? What would be an interest if we applied that? Is there an interest component to that? So those are all the discussions, comments that we had with our actuary as well as our fiduciary counsel.
So, sorry, what does that mean in terms of resolving the issue, I guess?
Sure. I think it's pushing it forward is what it is. That's one of the big hurdles for me is receiving the advice from the actuary of what is this program will look like. Receiving advice from our fiduciary counsel of what does this mean? What is the board's discretion with this language, if any? And so I think it has gone back to the business side of it and Greg's in the operational sense of communicating with the city and how does this look forming it up. It's vague, I know. I apologize for that, but again, I'm not privy to share attorney-client privilege information in front of the
okay, so
the
I
public.
Guess, I appreciate that. So I guess, like in the next sort of 10 years-ish, or what are we looking at here?
I'm going to ask Greg to speak up to that because he does the timeline for these activities. Thank you.
So Chris and I disagree on a number of things, even though he is a fount of ideas and things.
No, that's Jamar.
I still believe that the plan design is up to the plan sponsors, and we have a duty to administer. And I think there's a lot of common ground between Chris and I on that, but I still think that it is prudent that we talk to the plan sponsor if they wish to have this as part of their plan design. And they've told us no. And it is frustrating that I would like to have an early resolution of this and just move on. But sometimes it takes longer to get things done, especially when we look at the city and they have, as we mentioned before in talking about budgets, they have so much to do for this community. And dedicating time to this one issue is not at the top of their list, but that doesn't mean we will not persevere and keep pushing forward. One of the things that we did meet with fiduciary council and the actuary. And one of the things I wanted to talk to the actuary about was, let's not argue about whether or not we have to do this. Let's say, what would it look like if we did do it? How would you do that? From the actuarial perspective, with all the constraints within the language, what would that program look like? And so we're putting together a document based on the experts' opinions of, if we did have to do it, what would the program look like? What are the major decision points? So that we can share that with the plan sponsor, and hopefully they'll share that with their stakeholder groups, because I'm sure they would have to negotiate that one way or the other. And also share that internally here with this organization. So trying to push things forward in a way that helps facilitate discussion and get resolution one way or the other.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I think that, the nut of the disagreement between myself and the CEO on this is that as I read the charter and the municipal code, we're supposed to offer this benefit. And it is the plan sponsor who controls the municipal code, not us. And it is the people who control the charter, not us. And so while I appreciate the accommodation, the desire to accommodate the city's difficult times and so forth, what concerns me is, on our end, there's something in writing saying you should do this, and we're not doing it. And so that's where the concern comes in for me. And I think we should be awfully careful about accommodating an administrative desire that may conflict with the actual obligations that exist under the Charter and Municipal Code. I think that's a hazardous place to be. And I wonder, Johnny, then if there are some legal issues about this, if that we could talk about that in closed session, not here necessarily maybe at the board or something, to just explain what those pitfalls are, or if not, maybe they're not pitfalls, I don't know. Just so that the board understands that, okay, we're electing administratively, I suppose you might say, not to offer a benefit that's outlined in the municipal code. What are our risks related to that, if there are any? And is the board comfortable with that?
Well, Johnny, you'll give that some thought and get back with us, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from staff or the committee? Johnny, any closed session?
No.
All right, so we have come to the end of this agenda, and this meeting is adjourned. Our next B&G committee meeting will be held Thursday, July 9th at 9:15 here in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.